Alright guys, cross-stake predator trapper here. It's early in the morning. We got a great big beef brisket sitting here on the table. This is our cook for May, for our cooking with cross-stake. We're going to trim it up here a little bit. We got some fat that it's a little harder than the rest. It's not really going to melt down as we put it when we put it on the smoker. So we're going to trim some of this here out and just make it a little bit leaner. It'll still have lots of juice in there, still have lots of moisture, so I'm not worried about taking too much of it out, but just some of the harder stuff that's not going to render down while we cook. It's going to be kind of nasty to eat later. So we're going to clean it up, put some rub on it, and get it on the smoker, and we'll check in and see what happened during the month in the yard, trapping wise and whatnot. So stay tuned. We're going to get this big bad boy cooking here right away. Alright, so we got this trimmed up here. Right in here, like, we trimmed out a lot of the hard stuff. This is pretty wiggly. I guess I should explain what I look for in fat. You get some stuff that's really hard and really dense. That's not going to render down and become juicy and useful. As you smoke it, it's just gonna stay that hard lump of fat. And when you're eating this, you don't want to get into that. It's not gonna taste good. It's gonna be gross. So we want to trim that out. We trimmed in back in here a little bit, got down to where it's kind of just this nice light fat that's going to render out really nice. Just flop that over, kind of make it look like one big piece here again. And then this side, same thing. We trimmed the fat cap down on the flat here. I personally like to leave a little bit on here. It just helps keep everything moist. We peeled some of the silver skin off along here. Took a nice big hard fat chunk out of here. Like you can see, this has got a little more resistance to it when you poke it. Could cut this out, maybe I will yet. But up on the point here, really not much you got to do. A bit of a vein right down in here that I trimmed out. And again, nice and pliable there, so that I think will render out really nicely. I'm going to put a bit of a mustard binder on here. It's just regular old yellow prepared mustard. Just give it a little rub on there. And then I'll put my rub on top. It just helps to adhere to the meat. Gives it a bit of moisture. This has got a fair bit of moisture. So the rub probably would stick on its own, but we'll just take it up a little bit. Lots of people, they see me putting mustard on my meat. I do it especially on my ribs. And they're like, oh, well, they're going to taste like mustard. Absolutely, they do not taste like mustard. I don't know what happens to the mustard, if it just works into the meat. But you don't taste the mustard. And it's a good way to kind of moisten the meat and get your rub to really stick onto it. So there it is with the mustard. Like I say, very light coat of it. Just kind of work it on all the surfaces. Give her a little rub. And now we're gonna throw the rub on it. We're using Smokin' Okies classic beef rub. They're a barbecue restaurant in Regina that makes and sells their own rub. I typically have done in the past just a salt, pepper, garlic mix. And I do like 1 cup garlic, 1 cup pepper, 1 cup salt. Mix it up really good, spread her out on your meat. That's a very simple, very easy rub, and it has good flavor to it. You could add some onion powder in there too. It's all kind of personal preference. But I mean, lots of barbecue stores out there, if you're really not sure about making your own rub, don't know what flavors will go good together, just go to a barbecue, like a smoking place or a meat joint, ask them or YouTube it. And that's what I did when I bought my smoker and wasn't really sure. I YouTubed a lot of stuff. I talked to people in the retail industry that were selling rubs and meat and whatnot, and kind of went from there. So, alright, so we got it all rubbed up. It sat probably for 5-10 minutes. The rub is really attached to the meat. That's why it almost kind of looks clearish. So it's really worked onto the meat, and it's going to hold in there, give us lots of flavor. The smoker is running at 220, 225. That's about where I want it for today. We could go up as high as 250. But I mean, this gives us room for a little bit of a temperature swing without getting too hot. So we're going to get her on the grill, and then we're going to leave her for a few hours, and we're going to be looking for an internal temperature of 165. Then we'll wrap it and let it get to about 208, 210, and then we'll pull it off and let it rest. Alright, so we got her on the smoker. We got the point, our thickest part, closest to the heat. Our flat is further away from the heat. We're going to close the lid and let her cook.
That's the Critter Trapper here, you guys. It's May 7th. We're on the road down to Moose Jaw. We're going to pick up our puppy tomorrow. We're going to name her Winnie. Her full name on her name tag and stuff will be Winchester, but we'll call her Winnie for short. Yeah, so we're just heading down here through southern Saskatchewan. Well, I call it southern Saskatchewan. There's it gets flatter and more south that way. That's south. But right now here, Kristen will show you around once I'm done speaking. But it's grain farms for as far as you can see. I've been told that any trees that are in this area of the province have been planted at some point in their life. But back when the early settlers came, it was just prairie grass from basically the Manitoba border clear to the Alberta border and beyond. So, we'll show you a few shots of this part of the province, or great province. We'll have a few little video clips, I'm sure, tomorrow when we head home with the puppy. But yeah, this is our May video. It'll be put up in June, so you get the full month of action from whatever we're doing in May. And stay tuned. Enjoy the show. Alright, it's May 8th, about lunchtime here. We're just heading back from Moose Jaw. We have our lovely new addition. She's just in the crate while we're having lunch here. We don't want her all up in our food and stuff, so she's just chilling out there. She was riding up front with us from Moose Jaw to Regina, and she'll probably ride between Thomas, and she'll bounce around the vehicle here when we're going home. But there's a little guy. There's wifey. A few stores, you know, to do shopping. Don't live in the big city. Seem to need something every time you stop through one. So we're gonna run and grab those few items and head off to home. And I'm sure we'll do some more video clips when we're out running around the yard with Winnie and everyone. An internal temperature of 165 right there in the point. So our flat will be maybe a bit more than that. We're going to wrap it in tin foil now and put her back on there. Wait till we get up to 210, 208, somewhere in there.
And yeah, it's looking really good. So we're gonna wrap it up, put her back on. Alright, so she's all wrapped up as tight as possible so we don't get too much steam in there and wreck our bark that we had going. And we'll just let her cook until she hits 208, and then we'll pull her off and let her rest. So we're out in the yard here today, cutting up some PVC conduit for pipe dream sets in the fall. This here particular length is 10 inches. Schedule 41-inch electrical conduit. You can use 3/4. I have a couple chunks here that are 3/4. I just use the scrap pieces that are kind of oddball lengths, or not really that great for electrical work. So when I have that oddball piece, I toss it out of the trailer, and got a down day like today, I just chop them up into 10-inch long pieces. And I'll show you later in another video how we use these to make the pipe dream set. You can also check out pretty much just YouTube Mark Zager's pipe dream set. There's lots of variations and lots of videos on how to do it. But in certain situations, when it gets wet, when it gets rainy, and I've found even when it freezes up and you don't want to drill holes, these work pretty good. So my boy here is going to help me cut these up. Maybe I'll give him the camera and he can do some videoing. But I just use my Milwaukee PVC shear. It's battery powered. You can buy hand powered, battery powered, or you just use a hacksaw or reciprocating saw if you don't want to go out and spend the money. But I got this. I use it at work lots. It's just a quick pull of the trigger, and it cuts it to length right away. So it's quick and easy. We're going to finish cutting up this last chunk of pipe here. And then we're going to gather up all the pieces and we'll put them in the shed.
My dad's going to help me cut the pipes.
We just want to line it up.
Yep. And then
Here's our finished brisket. About 6.5 hours total to cook it. And we're just going to slice in here and show you the inside. You can see the inside there. Lots of moisture in there. Even with all that fat we cut off. Same thing on the point or on the flat. So we'll get this sliced up. Company will be over shortly. And then it's feasting time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Maybe you learned something. Yeah, thanks for watching. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. Yep.